It's time to call the September 26th, 2024 meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Hamilton East Public Library to order. It is our first duty to say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I see we are without Mr. Henley. We have a quorum, nevertheless, present for the conduct of business. First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Next motion and a second. Any discussion? Pursue not. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. All right. Comments from the public. It's item number 3. Do we have sign-ins? There were none. No harassment from. Yeah, got it. Understood. I see what you think of me in my first meeting.
Wait till the second meeting.
Hey, you pipe down. So our next item is our consent agenda. Multiple items on this, minutes, personnel approvals, surplus items. That was added to the details here in the last few days to make sure everyone has seen that, and the claims and warrants. At this point, I will entertain either any open discussion or a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion to approve the consent agenda? Hearing none, please indicate your approval by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda is approved. And we are cruising through. Number 5 is nothing, items removed from the consent agenda. Number 6, budget adoption resolution. In your materials, you should have the documents indicating the numbers that we talked about during our public meeting, within public meeting we had last month. And so the object of this, I will read it into the record here. Be it ordained / resolved by the Hamilton East Public Library that for expenses of the Hamilton East Public Library for the year ending December 31st, 2025, the sums herein specified are hereby appropriated in order to set apart out of the several funds herein named and for the purposes herein specified. Subject to the laws governing the same. Such sums herein appropriated shall be held to include all expenditures authorized to be made during the year unless otherwise expressly stipulated and provided for by law. In addition, for the purposes of raising revenue to meet the necessary expenses of Hamilton East Public Library, the property tax levies and property tax rates as herein specifies are included herein. Budget form 4B for all funds must be included and submitted in the manner prescribed by the Department of Local Government and Finance, and this ordinance / resolution shall be in full force and effect and after its passage and approval by the Hamilton East Public Library. And then we have 4 funds: rainy day, general, lease rental payment, library improvement reserve, with the numbers of a total adopted budget of $21,210,083. And the adopted tax levy totaling $8,613,501 and an adopted tax rate of 0.0550. The discussion before we launch into motions. Hearing none. Any motions?
No changes from when we met last, right? So, okay.
Any motions on
Motion to
budget
approve
adoption?
the adoption of the budget.
Have a motion to approve.
Second.
Second, I heard Susan first. Sorry about that.
Oh, sorry.
Any further discussion, even though there really wasn't much? All those in favor of the adoption of the 2025 budget resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Hey, we have a budget. Look at that. We've adopted it. And it will go around for signature. To get that. Yeah, I'll fix that. We'll do that. Thank you. Moves this way around.
Small typo on my name. I assume it won't mess up the document if I correct it.
Correct.
Yeah, of course.
Mhm.
You're welcome.
All right. Next item on the agenda is appropriation reductions resolution. Have those materials, and there's a little one pager. Do we need any discussion before we actually hear what the motion is? Melissa, can you tell us a little bit more about why we're doing this, what we need to do?
I'm gonna let Kim answer.
It's money that was actually using from the library improvement reserve fund and rainy day fund. In order to pass the budget, when it's passed, we have to put the money back out there to be used for next year.
Fair enough. Questions for Kim on that? That Kim? All right, so is there a motion on this agenda item?
I'll move to approve the appropriation reduction resolution.
Seconded.
Any further discussion on the motion as the resolutions and materials? Hearing none, take a vote now. Please signify your approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is board committee assignments. So the way that our bylaws read, either by or at the October meeting, the committee assignments are to be made. As board president, I have that opportunity to do so. I made a few small changes that hopefully will make sense to everybody. I met with Melissa a few weeks ago and talked through all the different obligations, how often several of the committees meet that I've been part of. The changes come down to this and just kind of rebalancing things. What I was doing on finance, I was relinquishing finance because we have a new assistant treasurer. So Beth, you're moving into that. So yay, that makes sense. So swapping us out on that. I don't know if the finance committee ever really met. That was more of the assistant treasurer before we had Kim. That was all fun. So finance committee, that's the only change. Nominating committee stayed the same. That is still Susan, Beth, and Bill. Policy committee, change I made there is taking Craig off, putting myself on, making sense that board president would be on there. The bylaws do not say that that is an ex officio position that the board president serves, but I think that made some sense. And also Craig was over obligated, is what you can tell. And then in that case, made Michelle as the ranking member to be chair of the policy committee, and which we had a long discussion earlier today, so that was good. Long range planning made no changes there, buildings around, no changes there. So ultimately, I'm on 2 committees, Kim's on 2, Susan's on 2, Beth, you're on 3, but finance and nominating, I don't know very much. Michelle's on 2, Craig's on 2, and Bill's on 2. So that's where we're at. Anybody have protestations to raise?
It's good to be.
Or see me in the hallway? We need to.
One question. I know we previously discussed about appointing a member or 2 members to the foundation board via the committee assignments. Are we just going to wait till that's up and running before we do that?
That makes the most sense to me. I don't know what everybody else thinks. So
That there was a vote that for Susan and Michelle. Was that not a vote voted on already?
We discussed it. I don't know that we.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Voted.
I don't remember there was a vote.
Okay, at least if we can look
it
at
would be
it.
much line.
Can you pull up those minutes and see how it was voted? That would have.
Was it known as well? So I don't know was also.
June.
It's the meeting before last.
It would have been June, I believe. Check June.
Yeah, And we talked about it at length in June. You had asked that we dedicate 2 seats to the foundation board, and I think that ultimately was what we did, but I don't know if you.
Yeah, I think
named
that's
individuals.
all we did.
Maybe
I think there was discussion that the 2 of you were
Yeah.
willing to serve that
Yeah.
way.
Okay,
And I will keep that in scope. I think what I'd like to do is, one other thing Melissa and I talked about is making some small revisions to bylaws, which we need to do because of our vote on what we're doing with our meetings in 2025 and shifting the date on that. And maybe there's something we can incorporate into the bylaws that speaks to how that appointment's made and when it's approved. But unless Lisa's ready for us to have board members.
She's
Oh,
There she
sorry.
Go ahead and appoint people so that when I have 5 board members, I can vote to pass the bylaws in the articles of incorporation. So I'm assuming if you guys don't appoint them, then they're not gonna be able to be counted in my 5 people I need to get started.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. So as I would consider it part of this agenda item to take up Craig's question, do we need more discussion on that based on what we have right now?
Is this a position that is in the bylaws that you get to create, or we otherwise going to need a motion, I presume?
We
So-
would need a motion to create a
Right.
position that is to create those appointments, and then to appoint individuals as.
So you'll just need somebody to make a motion to appoint whoever, I guess, we previously had discussed should be appointed. And so-
We talked about who would be willing, but not.
If they're still willing.
So I don't know,
I'm so on.
I'm still on. I'll make a motion then for Michelle and Susan to be appointed to the foundation.
there's a motion. That's second. Any further discussion on that point? That's suffice.
It's good.
Right, any other discussion? Otherwise, call and vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. My condolences. Next is, anything more on board committee assignments, meantime? All right. Buildings and grounds committee update. Greg.
Yes, myself, Melissa, and our construction attorney, Tim, met in mediation with representatives of R.L. Turner, conducted mediation. Unfortunately, we were unable to reach any sort of resolution at that mediation. Just the demands that they got down to were not supported by the documentation that we had. So at this point, where things sit is that there's a contractually required dispute resolution process in our contract. And as the party making a decision to claim for money, we're waiting to see if our Turner initiates that. And I guess the second item under that same heading, so I was previously authorized by the board to participate in mediation as a board representative, subject to board approval of any ultimate resolution. So based on how things are going, we anticipate there may be further proceedings. So it might make sense to discuss and maybe appoint a board member to continue acting as board representative throughout that process.
Would you be willing to continue?
I would be very willing to continue.
Yes. Okay, so
Good.
do I make a motion for him?
I would anticipate if you're wanting him to basically be the representative of the board for any further mediations or settlement conferences, contingent, of course, on him bringing any ultimate settlement authority back to the board for approval. I don't think there's an issue with you making such a motion and making that type of a designation. So.
Okay, I'll make a motion of what he just said.
Yeah, that's acceptable.
All right, so we have a motion to continue Craig's appointment to represent us as in either mediation, whatever alternate dispute resolution might be called for in contractually required dispute resolution, subject that he brings that back to us.
Can that be kind of indefinite? So it's not like each meeting we have to say, yes, we can go to that one. Yes, we can go to
Yeah,
that.
through the resolution. How's
Thank
that?
you.
Yes.
Sounds perfect.
Mhm.
Sounds good. And specific to the alternatives.
Yeah, for this dispute.
Okay.
And I'll second.
Any other discussion on the motion? Second, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Any other questions or comments on buildings and grounds? Committee?
I don't think so.
Okay, Craig, thank you for giving up a day for that.
You're very welcome.
Yes, and he's in the future.
Yes,
and stays
in the future.
True. All right, we're up to item 10, renovation updates, and I see Kevin.
Low, but we're. Never like for that. All right, that better? No?
There we go,
There-
second, there you go. There's slower stuff.
I think it really has the report, I'll just go ahead and just Ken's question. So 6 to 8 weeks will be substantial completion on Ecclesville, since we're already at substantial completion on Fishers. That's kind of the timeline, it's substantially complete on all the work. Based off of Ferguson's phase 2 work, and really the only reason that's continuing to be ongoing at Noblesville is because we added some scope, if you recall, since we had some additional dollars, we thought we'd go ahead and finish some work that was still needed in some restrooms that hadn't been renovated in previous projects. So that's really the last draft of stuff that's up there at Noblesville. In terms of the items that are here, just kind of grouping these together a little bit in terms of what they are. Items 1 and 2 that are on the list there is really that closeout of our Turner's project from a paperwork standpoint. So there's some change orders and some cost documentation that we're trying to get resolved before we respond to the last pay application. So that's really what the first 2 items are there are on the list. Items 3 and 4 are some items we needed to resolve to get the final certificate of occupancy. So that moving forward, I think the last outstanding item we had is we needed to get some pricing for cabling from an electrical contractor to finish that work that was requested by the fire marshal. So we've got some electrical contractors I want to send just to make sure that you don't have any concerns with the 3 that we're thinking of sending that to. Since it's below the $150,000 threshold, we can just solicit quotes from bidders for that work. The 3 and 4 would wrap that up. Sarah is pretty much underway, and that should be resolved in a couple of months, whatever it takes to get that work done. And then item 5 is really what I would consider the last item here at Fishers to get completed. It's kind of outstanding work, and that's the sculptural tree element that's in the children, that will be in the middle of the children's area. And right now that's scheduled to be installed in November. So we're just working through all that to make sure that it kind of meets all the criteria from a safety standpoint. And then the last number 6, that's with projects, sometimes our things don't quite work the way you hope. And sometimes you don't quite know why until you get into it with all the players. So we've been trying to work through that in terms of the rain management around the building, primarily the rain chains and how that is or isn't working. So some of it was obvious, some of it was not as we started to dig in. So there may be a couple of tweaks that we need to make to get that to work better. But I think there was, just to remind everybody, in the old system, we had no gutters. It just kind of ran off the edge of the roof on that kind of odd thing that people thought was a sidewalk. And people kept turning their ankles on. And we wanted to get rid of that. Typically on building, you put in the gutters and downspouts, but your overhangs are so big here, we really wanted to stay away from that because you got kind of ugly. Because you had to run really far back and then down the building, which is why we went the route we did with drain chains. And we've used these successfully on other projects, so we know that they'll work. It's just getting them to work in this application. So that's kind of what we're working through and why we met with the approach we did. So other than that, and those were touched on, so I don't have anything. Unless there's any questions, I'd be happy to. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Also. That takes us to item 11, director's report.
Okay, so I just want to start by saying thank you. We have to Jerry Griffith is a longtime employee for over 40 years, and she is getting ready to retire. So we thank her for her service to the library, and I mean that's an incredible amount of time that she's dedicated to serving our community. So definitely want to honor that. security update, the materials have been ordered for the updates that we're planning to do at both libraries. We are planning to start in Noblesville and then finish it up there and then move down to Fishers. So we will be working on getting things installed as soon as the things are in. And then construction updates, the Noblesville Teen Zone is back open. So there's a, oh, I'm sorry, I said something that should, there's something that conflicts in there, but that teen zone is back open. There are a few things that we have that we're working on. We need to get the TVs mounted for the gaming systems. And then we just have to finish the bathrooms and the Noblesville Youth Services. And then like a special thank you to the American Legion for replacing the flag at our Fishers Library. And so they took our old one and disposed of it properly. So that was, they offered, and very kind of them. So wanted to just mention that our English language learner classes have launched and they're doing very well. And we have all of the classes are full. We have I think maybe people underestimate the number of languages that are spoken around here, but just the survey that was conducted of students, so we had 81 students from 22 countries and they speak 15 other languages. So, and we feel really fortunate by this program because it's funded by the Department of Workforce Development. So we don't have to pay for these certified teachers to come in and teach these classes. So it's been a really great partnership with them, and they've been wonderful, and the students are great. And it's nice too because we can introduce them to like the services at the library. So also want to say just thank you to our frontline staff. The people who work the desk have had to answer all of the phone calls about the changes we made with HEPL. And so thank you to them. They've been, shown a lot of grace and patience and done a really wonderful job. And we just appreciate their service in helping to answer their questions. And then just a little bit of an update. We have seen an uptick in the number of people who have switched over to using our other service, our other digital service. And then also, Joseph, our director of collection services, did sort of a survey of other area libraries. And I just want you all to know that before we put anything limitations in place, we were spending more than double what any other library in the area was spending monthly. And even now with our caps in place, we're still spending more than any of the libraries that we contacted. So it's been, I know it's been painful for people, but we do try to be, we want to make sure that we're fiscally responsible so that we can continue to offer the service, because a lot of libraries have had to just completely discontinue the service because it became unsustainable. So also, yard games have been very popular, and I think that last I checked, they were all checked out here, and they've been, people have found them and they're enjoying checking those out. And then just so people know that if you do want to, you can put those on hold. Those can be put on hold for just like a book can. And then just want to thank Liz, Anita, and Joseph for getting it's very easy to have the idea, let's do this, but then thinking through the practicality, it's very different to circulate like a can jam yard game versus a book. So they had to think through how to get it processed, and how do we label it and catalog it. And so they did and how do we, because we can't keep it out on a bookshelf. So how do we, and how do we get it to them when somebody comes to check it out? So they did a lot of work, and they did a great job, and they launched it and trained other staff. So it's gone very smoothly. And then a quick update, the feasibility study survey is launched. It's still going, I think, for another week. And I spoke to Veritas Group, and we have so far had over 4,600 responses, which is incredible. So and they gave me just a quick preview, but we're going to wait till the full survey has come in, and then they will be here next month to share those results. But we had a lot of promotion of that survey, and so we really appreciate that. And then the feedback, if you haven't taken the survey, it's still live, so make sure you take it because we want to hear from people. And then next steps, we will be doing focus groups with people because we would really want to hear from the community about what things they want and need, from the library. And then, we did launch we had our newest issue of Discover Guide. So if you haven't seen it, that's the publication that we do that highlights, upcoming programs. And we have some new things. We're doing the welcoming week, and then we also have Family History Day. And I do want to put a plug in for that. It's going to be a really cool event. It's basically like a little mini genealogy conference type thing. So there's different events throughout the day. So if you're interested in genealogy, if you know a lot, if you don't know much, it's something that people can come in. There's different topics of presentation. So. And then if you want to look on our event calendar, it has more information about like what the specific speakers will be talking about. There's some really cool things at that. And so I will happy to answer questions about anything in the director's report.
Yeah.
Sure.
On the security, I know there'll be training at some point, so tonight, and I brought this up, and I know we added it to the policy lesson, but when I walked out, there was a car parked, and you can't see it from the desk. There was a car parked at the front, they had their flashers on. That just is very unsettling for me, and if it is for me, I'm sure it is for other people. They always say, don't allow parking everything, so as we get the training, everything, I think we need to make sure we address how do we train our staff to see those, because with that thing, that blue balloon thing, you can't see where people are parked, you can't see out that front door, to the north. So from the desk, so whatever that looks like, I'm not the expert, I'm just.
Right, and the new camera systems will provide much better coverage of all of the library areas.
So when it notifies somebody, hey, this car is parked.
I would be happy to discuss that in an executive session to discuss specific security things. So if you would like, we could do an executive, maybe we could schedule an executive session just to discuss like the security features that
And it
will
was
be.
kind of a rhetorical question, like to make sure we.
Yes, we definitely.
And I wasn't expecting you to answer that.
Oh, okay,
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, we could absolutely
To
do
make
that.
sure that we address, even if it's just a few minutes before our next meeting or something.
Sure. Do we want to discuss, just a time for an executive session?
What's the date of the next one?
I know Beth, and we can have Roger come in and then he can
Yeah.
maybe answer any questions.
Probably.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my best to be here as long as we don't have anything crazy going.
If not in November, it's fine. I mean, I don't feel like a sense of urgency. I just want, while we're doing this and we're upgrading, to make sure we address that.
Yeah.
To make it.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's actually a really good idea. So that way you can understand more of, some of the new, things we're very excited about that we think will help improve our safety at the library. So,
And it looks like you're doing security training during the
at
staff.
staff day, yes. So Roger Goods who's our consultant, he's going to be conducting the training. And so he has a presentation that he'll be doing for staff and, to go over that. And then once we have the new systems in place, the next step for the security will be to work with Roger on updating all of our procedures and like the policies and things so that we make sure so we can make sure that staff are trained and know, that's one of the biggest things that, I think we've learned is just the training and then, constantly updating on and making sure that staff are aware of what, because it's one thing to sign off on a document that you've read the emergency handbook, but we need to make sure that our staff actually, know that and,
I can feel confident that
Right.
if there's a problem, that they know what to do or who they need to talk to or whatever. So
Right.
I like that. That's great.
And does the library close for the day for staff development day?
yes, so the library will be Friday, I think it's October 11th. We're closed for staff development day.
Okay.
Because that's the Friday before HSC goes on fall break and it's strategically closed. All right, sounds like is there interest in having an executive session to talk more about security and get into it?
would be interested.
Yeah, definitely.
November? I don't know that, because we're gonna do it in October, it will be earlier in the day, and that's not good.
Well, and I think that, November might be good because we might have, some of the things installed, hopefully. I mean, hopefully we'll have the installation.
Good.
Um,
Our meeting in October is.
If we're looking at doing it at
Like
5 or 5:15,
5:15,
Um,
5, either one.
so an hour before
Sure.
our prior,
Yeah, and our meeting in November is,
the 28th.
that's Thanksgiving, so. yeah,
No, it's
another day.
It's the 21st. That's-
21st.
Yeah, November, yeah, November,
We did,
December,
yes.
are at the third week instead of.
Thank you. Maybe Audrey's gonna be here, but I'll be eating lots of turkey.
Oh, that's funny. No, 21st does sound a lot better.
You said 5 o'clock?
Does that sound good?
Yeah. or
5:15.
5:15, I mean. Okay, all right.
Traffic will mean whatever
Does
the
it
cars.
Yeah, 15 extra minutes.
5:15? Okay.
Thank you.
Sound good?
Any other questions?
On the yard games, are you finding that they're being returned and pristine, complete? I don't know, I just envision, all I can envision, you know, I saw like the checkers boards, I'm thinking like what community checkers boards look like after a year, you know, or a few months, and you know, there's a piece and you're using a button over here, and that sort of stuff. How are you finding?
I think, I don't, I need to here, but I think that they, so far, I haven't heard anything, which usually means it's okay, at least for now. But we do, you know, like we circulate board games with hundreds of pieces. And so, I mean, and those miraculously, I mean, not perfectly, you know, we have extra pieces that we can sub in. But surprisingly, yeah, people are very, very, responsible with them for the most part. So,
Sounds good.
but so far I haven't heard any complaints about the yard games, but I can specifically check to see what that is. That's like.
And just one other topic, the library card sign up month, we're happy with those results because I know that's a metric through the strategic planning that it's a metric of focus and so we feel good about.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen for the full month, but like we've had 2 events. We had one in Noblesville and one in Fishers, like just as a celebration, and they both went so well. And I will, you know, I'll definitely, Kelsey did such a great job planning them. And then, like if you weren't aware, you can use your library card for discounts at a lot of businesses and, through the month. And then one we're really excited about is the fuel. If you use the link from the library, and this will go on, I think it goes through, I want to say January, you can buy tickets and it'll be a $5 discount using that. And then it also supports the library because if you get 200 tickets sold using that link, then we get to have a promotional table at one of their games. Oh, cool. So, so it's a good deal for anyone to, you know, you can save money and then also support the library. So, but we haven't checked out the list of businesses. But I can't tell you the exact number of people, we will have that at the end of the month, so hopefully we can.
It's been popular and on the website and the blog and what else, social media.
Yes. All right, we're done. Old and new business, didn't really have anything old, we didn't add anything to new unless somebody has something to add now. Otherwise, we're up to the dreaded number 13. Adjournment. Is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn.